Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Genghis Khan, and today I have for you my October mid-month check-in. So I have not even finished any books yet, so I thought I'd chat about the book I have been reading, but also do something a little different and talk about the two fantasy TV shows that I've been watching recently as well, Wheel of Time and One Piece. And if you did not get a chance to check it out live, I did my first ever book chat with Benghis, just live general book chat on the channel yesterday with Read by Kyle. You could go into the live section and check that out on replay if you'd like. So I had a lot of fun chatting with Kyle, and yeah, hope to do more of those soon. The book that I've been reading is A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. So I'm almost 2/3 of the way through. So in my MMPB here that I've been reading, I'm 665 pages in, got just about 400 pages, a good-sized fantasy novel to go. So, man, this is a beefy one, but I also started it last month, but I had to take a break for reading Fool's Fate as part of a buddy read, and then I went on a week-long trip where I got almost no reading or listening in, just kind of did little chunks here and there, but then I had to go back and kind of reread those sections anyway. So this was a poor book to kind of break up because it does not have a lot of narrative momentum in the first 40%. Like, this is the slowest burn yet I've read in the series, and it would have benefited from, I think, as serious a binge as I could have done for it, because there's just all these different plot lines where very little progress is getting made in the first half, and it's all weaving this grander tapestry. But if you can just read like bits and pieces here and there and are stuck in that first section, man, it felt very slow. But once I got past the 40% mark and have been able to put in more time and read bigger chunks and consistently every day, this has returned form, and I'm just basically as engaged now as I've ever been. So it took a little time, but I've gotten there, and it's just Martin's trademark vivid writing with just amazing, specific, dramatic details and lore and just all the things that he's been doing well. It kept on doing in this book. It was just that also spent a lot of time with my least favorite storyline. Everything going on in Marine has been, I think, the most prominent storyline here, and easily just my least favorite plotline of the series. And I understand it's important for the series and the character arc that's at the heart of it, and for thematics and having resonance with other plot lines, but the actual chapters in Marine have been a bit of a bore for me. And just also having seen the show, knowing where some of these things go, I feel like I'm not getting too much payoff with some of these plot lines in this book. And so yeah, definitely the weakest so far, but still great as far as just general fantasy reads go, and can't wait to keep going and see what happens here. I am now pretty gripped now that I'm into the second half. So yeah, in the end, I do think this one will be a better one on reread, and knowing kind of where some of those earlier plot lines are going and seeing all those key details that he throws in that I might not have caught this first time around, I do think reread will be very rich for this one compared to the first read. Now do TV talk, which I don't do too much on here because I don't watch too much TV. I used to in my younger years, but now it's almost all reading. But I still try to watch some interesting fantasy and sci-fi things, and One Piece is something that is just blown up in the current kind of fantasy booktube sphere. And the live show on Netflix came out. I'm like, oh, this is my chance to actually check it out, see what's going on with it, so I have an idea at least of what it means when people are mentioning it. And I started watching it with my wife, and we both just had a lot of fun with it. It's something that has a lot of visual flair. The actors are felt like they were giving great performances to me, and that were really embodying those characters really well, especially Luffy. Man, that actor is just giving off such amazing energy for Luffy. And we're along for the ride and had fun watching an episode or two, just a bunch of nights in a row, and I wished it were longer. And it's something that I don't think I got so deeply invested in the characters or storyline where I just was itching to see where it went. It's more something I just had a good time with and will be happy whenever the second season comes out, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, I'll just be happy when it comes back around again and we can watch more of the story. But I did, just out of curiosity for myself, because I know, there's so much manga available for it, I did try the anime and the manga, and I read a bunch of the chapters of the manga, and it wasn't really gripping me like the live action TV show was. And the same for the anime. Maybe it's because the first real experience I had with it was the live action, that I became attached to seeing it with the live actors who I thought were doing a great job. And the more cartoon style just wasn't as engaging to me. And then the manga as well, just again, nowhere. It was starting to bore me. Just was not into it nearly as much as I was the live action show. So having no source material to compare it to, I watched some other booktubers' reactions, and they're attached to the source material, so they're constantly picking out things that are changes or nitpicks for them that felt different or didn't land as much as they had done for them from the original manga. And I just didn't have that a problem. So with coming into it fresh, I was just able to experience it completely anew. And, it's sort of like a zany, really fantastical kind of vibe. So it's the kind of thing where, like, complete logic feels like it doesn't have to apply, and so I'm not looking for little plot holes. And even when I did feel like they were coming up, I just didn't let them become a big deal for me. And I really appreciated just the fun atmosphere to it. But also, a lot of the backstories are very emotional, and so it's this weird mixing of tone of zaniness and really heartfelt, dark moments at the same time. And so it's a really interesting mix that I am enjoying. And I can't wait really for that live action to return. I hope they can get back to it all soon. And then just recently, I had watched through all of the Wheel of Time Season 2. So this is a completely different experience for me because I have read all of the series and the source material. And so I cannot disentangle the two things, even though intellectually I just want to sort of approach the show as a separate turning of the wheel, a separate adaptation that is just doing something different in a different format and medium, and just let go of any hopes I might have had for what they might depict from the books. I could intellectually take that stance, but I don't think I can truly view it separately. And so I still feel like it's missing all of these opportunities to have done cool moments from the books, and they only have 8 episodes to tell the sprawling tale, and so it's just not enough. But what's cool though about having veered away from the book so much is that a lot of the time I have no clue what's going to happen, so I am in suspense, and it feels pretty fresh, so that is a bonus. Yet, some of the things that have landed the most have been some of those things that where they almost straight adapted them the most. And thinking of things like the accepted test with Nynaeve, that sequence I really loved, and the things in Falm with the Soldam and Damane, and some other things in the finale that they did take from the books, and the Great Hunt, ending sequence, I really enjoyed. And so I probably would have just been happier if they would have done just the boring style of adaptation like the Game of Thrones show did for the first bunch of seasons, and that would have made me probably personally happier. But this is interesting, and I think the cast is doing a fantastic job. I love the casting. I think a lot of these actors are just slaying in their roles, and I particularly love the Ishamael and Lanfear actors this season, how much screen time they're getting, and they're just chewing up the scenery. I think those actors are just amazing, and probably an improvement on those characters in terms of their depth and nuance from the books. So loving that aspect of season 2 of the show. In terms of other things I've loved, I would probably agree with Brandon Sanderson in his recent live viewing of the finale when he was talking about how he thinks the show is doing a lot of great individual scenes, and that they're focusing a lot, I think, on just delivering their individual scenes, and that it's doing a much worse job in terms of building overarching character arcs for all of its main cast, and coming up with something coherent thematically that he, just in the final confrontation, it felt like kind of random, maybe how it all played out, or that there wasn't too much meaning behind it. And I'd agree with Sanderson that besides for a couple of the characters that I think the show is really highlighting, like Egwene and Moraine. A lot of the other characters are getting short shrift, and not really, even if they were given that amount of screen time, I think there could have been more meaningful character arcs for them with little tweaks. And so I really enjoyed hearing Sanderson's take on the season, since I think it was right on with the show's problems. It's something that, as a book reader, I am going to be interested in seeing whenever a new season drops. It's not something I'm going to be really waiting for and excited for, but I enjoy watching other people's reactions to it. Philip Chase and A.P. Canavan's discussions, they always find interesting things to discuss with it. But I'm not too invested in it. I was actually pretty bored for the first 2 episodes of season 2, and I was kind of worried that I was just going to have to slog through the rest. But I was engaged by the rest of the episodes, and so it felt like a good use of my time, and that I wasn't just bored throughout. So I did end up liking season 2 a good amount more than most of season 1, and besides the first 2 episodes, I was pretty engaged. So I think just being a fun diversion, that it was accomplishing its goal, but it isn't reaching the heights of House of the Dragon, which last year felt like a masterpiece for me, where I was gripped to my seat for every moment. I was so emotionally and intellectually invested in everything that was happening. It felt like it was firing on all cylinders, and I cared so much, and I did want to find out exactly what happened, so I went and read the whole Fire and Blood book after. But with these other shows, One Piece and Wheel of Time, I am not finding myself that invested, but I did think both were worth watching and had a lot of redeeming qualities. So let me know in the chat what you've thought of either of these 2 shows, if you've watched them. I'll be very curious to see your thoughts. And next time I bring you an update, hopefully at the end of the month, I will have finished A Dance with Dragons. Definitely will have finished that. Don't know exactly what I might read besides that. Maybe I'll go to Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince, the Realm of the Eldlings novella, before I pick up the Rainwild Chronicles next. So very excited to continue that series. Yeah, I'll catch you later.